The Undercountry Music News is an excerpt of the weekly internet broadcast Undercountry Music, which features music from great country artists you won't hear on mainstream radio, as well as a roundup of the most interesting country music news of the week without all the fluff. To listen and subscribe to the full weekly episode, please visit undercountrymusic.com or simply subscribe to the Undercountry Music Podcast on iTunes. Let's get into it. It's real sad, but, that's not new news. That's the way the world's been for a while. There's always shifty people and stuff you got to watch out for. It's just, I feel bad that I'm now a part of this, sort of unwittingly, but I'm going to go do her right. Anyway, that's not news, but this is, because it is time for the Undercountry Music News! You know, that kind of started off as a Santa Claus, and I realized I was Santa Clausing, and then I wanted to pull out of it somehow, and, I don't know. Sometimes it just goes down like that. Anyway, the Undercountry Music News is the portion of the show where I, your sexy show host, Neal Smith, rounds up the week in country music news, and I toss out all the People magazine fluff and garbage, all the tabloid stuff, all the press releases, all the fodder and human interest stories, and I drill down to the real country music news of the week. And I do so by going on to Google and typing in the words country music news. And I go to all the websites that are on the front page of the Google search results for that search term. And what happens is usually there's only one or two actual news stories, and then they just, lazy journalists just fill up the rest with press releases and, whatever Miranda Lambert feels like sending them that week. The new line of lip gloss from Miranda, BS like that. Anyway, homie don't play that here on Undercountry Music News. And if I can't find a real country music news story on a site that purports to have country music news, what I do is I issue that horrible website the dreaded Undercountry Music News Wet Belch of the Week, and it sounds a little something like this. That's right. And it stutters on the end. I do it live every time. No two belchers are alike. They're like gassy snowflakes almost. But anyway, let's get into it. Over at CMT, Brantley Gilbert has unveiled his new tattoo. Now, normally I wouldn't be reporting on some doofus's tattoo, but this thing's actually quite remarkable. It's a full back tattoo, meaning it takes up his entire back, in support of the Second Amendment, which is the right to bear arms. Oh, wait, it's the right to bear arms, not the right to bear arms. But anyway, it's an amazing piece of art, actually. And I'm not even a fan of tattoos, and this thing is pretty off the hook. And you can go check it out over at CMT. Hey, that's nice. All right, moving along to Taste of Country. Hopefully they won't taste my belch this week. They have before. Tim McGraw, who I understand is not a big supporter of the Second Amendment. At least that's what I hear through the grapevine. I don't know that for sure. Anyway, Tim McGraw is working with Sony Pictures TV on a new television show he will star in called Robbers. McGraw will play the role of Ray Bob, a drifter on a crime spree. I've also just learned that McGraw will be making an appearance in the upcoming Disney movie Tomorrowland, which comes out May 22nd. Which might be tomorrow if you're listening to this show on May 21st. But not likely. Over at Country Weekly, they are reporting that Krystal Keith is pregnant. That's all I got for you. Right. Oh no, also over at Country Weekly. And how in the world did our previous two news outlets not have this story? Hank Williams Jr. just signed with, wait for it, NashICON! Nash frickin' Icon! The big boys there. Yeah, he's working on a new album and a new single expected to be released later this year. Looks like bocephus just got a little well-deserved respect from the country music industry. Now, NashICON has my attention. GAC, Great American Country, they are reporting that Shania has announced that her upcoming Rock This Country tour will also be her farewell tour. Okay. Well, she hasn't toured in many years. So technically she was already gone except for the Vegas run. You know, you had to go see her. And honestly, I think anyone who actually believes that Shania is sliding her boots under her bed is incredibly naive. By the way, for those who didn't get it, that was a poke at whose bed have your boots been under. Okay, well, anyway, I'm calling this one a ploy to bump up ticket prices. Here in a couple years, you can look forward to the Shania Comeback Tour. Sorry, I'm cynical, and I'm over the gimmicks. The Boot, theboot.com, they have Randy Houser's new single called We Went. And it's streaming over there at The Boot. And it took all of 26 seconds for the words pickup truck to appear in the song. And 15 of those seconds were the musical intro to the song. So that pretty much did it for me. I'm tired of the cliches. I just turned it off. Hey, but The Boot have redeemed themselves. They also have the new Earl Dibbles Jr. video for the song City Boy Stuck. All I can say is you have to go watch this. This is the most hillbilly fun I have had in a frickin' long time. Just go watch it already. Love it. Over at the 615, which is a subsection of billboard.com, they've got a pretty good interview with Mike Dungan, chairman and CEO of Universal Music Group, sharing his view on women in country music, particularly Kacey Musgraves. Also, he pipes in on the future of bro country and what it takes to break an artist, including a new venture of investing in foreign country artists. Now, one thing I can say about the 615 is that they almost always have an interesting industry read, and this week is no different. And how the heck did nobody else have this next story? Merle Haggard gets his high school diploma at the age of 78. Actually, an elementary school friend spent years petitioning Merle's high school that he attended for all of 9 days. Jeez, I can't make this stuff up, folks. To give Merle a diploma. So apparently, the diploma doesn't really mean anything. Just so they figured, why the heck not? I guess. Yeah, what the heck? Diplomas for everyone. People wonder why we're headed downhill like a snowball that's headed for hell. Yeah, wait, stop rolling downhill like a snowball that's headed for hell. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. All right. Anyway, over at Country Standard Time, these guys always have a good list of quick little bullet points of country music news. And this week, those bullet points are that Ry Cooder and Ricky Skaggs are touring together, which is the story that stuck out the most to me over there. Everything else there is really such small little bullet points. They aren't really worth mentioning here. You know, who's leading the charts, who's joined up on what tour, etc. So you just go check it out, and you can kind of just drill right down through stuff quick and dirty over at Country Standard Time. Hey, moving along to Rolling Stone Country. Didn't I say we were rolling downhill like a snowball that's headed for hell? Well, this week, Rolling Stone Country is heading downhill like a snowball that's headed for the undercountry music news, wet belch of the week, because they got dip-dop-dippity-doo-doc bupkis. Nothing new over there that's actually news since the last time I checked in. And this has been your Undercountry Music News! Thank you for listening to the Undercountry Music News. The Undercountry Music News is just a small excerpt of the weekly internet broadcast Undercountry Music, where I play music and have great interviews by lesser-known original country acts. Get on over to undercountrymusic.com where you can listen and subscribe. Stay under, stay country.